Good day, ladies and gentlemen, and everything in between. My name is Dustin Cormier. Welcome to another episode of How to Rock Astrology. Today's episode, we are going to be getting into some synastry, something I've been excited to do. It's my first sort of synastry series. Today, we're talking about what it's like when one person's Jupiter is in the same sign as another person's north node. Things like this really show you that synastry, soulmateship, can be conveyed in so many different ways. You know, this is especially conducive to relationship dynamics if the person who owns the Jupiter has Jupiter ruling the fourth cusp, or the seventh cusp, or the fifth cusp, or the ninth cusp. If you have Sagittarius in the ninth house and your ninth house cusp falls there, the ninth house relates to marriage in a lot of ways. Jupiter is actually an arbiter of marriage in extremely important ways, particularly for women. So this is something that goes to show that there's so much more to marriage and synastry than just like Venus and Mars and Moon and Sun placements, you know? But that being said, just because somebody has a placement like that, you know, Jupiter being the fourth lord or the seventh lord or the fifth lord, being brought out by the other person's north node can give you deep entanglement energy. And any entanglement is not necessarily meaning that there needs to be a marriage, even though it might feel like such a thing is going down. There's probably plenty of people who get marriages but who are missing essential aspects of the chart, synastry, but they thought that Jupiter was going to bring them inherent purpose related to soul bondage to a higher principle, which is really the inherent essence of marriage. So keep all this in mind. That being said, I'm going to try to make these videos short. I'm doing okay with it. Let's see if I can keep it going for this video. All of this information is coming from Jan Spiller's Cosmic Love, Secrets of the Astrology of Intimacy Revealed. She's a Western author, and I think she does really good with her whole thing here. So let's start talking about it. This video has two dimensions. One side is you being the Jupiter person, and what it's like when you, as the Jupiter person, finds a partner or a lover or a student or a teacher or a father, mother, son, daughter, business relationship, whatever, when your Jupiter is conjunct someone else's north node. That's the first part of this video. And then the second part of this video is when you are the north node person and your north node falls on somebody's Jupiter. Keep in mind, I'm a tropical Vedic astrologer. I don't do sidereal signs. I use Western measurements just like all Westerners, but I apply Vedic philosophy to my astrology. And the Vedic people convey things slightly differently, but this is where my idea of Jupiter as a marriage planet, this is where this is coming from. And as well, in the Vedic idea, any two planets that are in the same sign are considered a conjunction because they're moving through the same dispositor. You know, so if you have Jupiter at 0 degrees of Virgo and your partner has Rahu, has the north node at 29 degrees Virgo, they're both moving through Mercury. They're both moving through the same dispositor in the same sign, which means that would be considered a conjunction. Although I would agree with the Westerners in that the closer the orb is, the more effect that it would bring. The more emphasis, the more it's going to be felt. Generally, though, the Vedic people say that it's a conjunction either way. Now, to get us started, what does the North Node mean in synastry relationships in regards to being with another person's planet? When the North Node in one person's chart is conjunct a planet in another's chart, a soul contract has been made to come together in this lifetime for mutual benefit. The North Node person brings the special gift of helping the planet person, the Jupiter person, to realize their talents, one of their talents conveyed by Jupiter. The North Node person functions like a good luck charm by energizing the area of life ruled by the planet of the person who has the planet. And again, in this case, this is Jupiter. Now, there is a caveat that needs to be given here, which is that this can feel antagonistic. Usually, it's antagonistic in the head of the planet person. In particular, if you have a weak Jupiter. If the person whose Jupiter is conjunct here with the North Node of the other person, if that person's Jupiter is weak, if it's debilitated in Capricorn, if it's with any of its enemies, Jupiter's enemies in Vedic astrology are Venus and Mercury. If Jupiter is conjunct Saturn, anyone is kind of harmed by being conjunct Saturn. Or if it's combust the sun, if it's Jupiter doesn't do so well going into the 7th house. If it's in a sign that's not conducive to what Jupiter's supposed to be doing, like one ruled by Mercury or Venus, then this Jupiter, which is a sattvic planet that's supposed to be looking for higher ideals and to sacrifice and to feel satisfied with making a sacrifice, the North Node person will convey to you your dissatisfaction with life, and they will talk about it, and you might be locked into, like, the reason I'm dissatisfied is because this and this and this and this, and I have no control over it. And the North Node person will be like, and they might not push you, but they will get excited when you feel good about being attached to a higher ideal, to some metaphysical principle, some transcendental spirituality that you feel lacking in your life. When you are moving towards it and you're finding meaning, the North Node person can be kind of like this playful coyote trickster. It's like, isn't that interesting that happened that way? It's almost like there was a etheric connection between this event and this event, even though they appear to be a coincidence. And you'll say, well, come on, science, rationality. And then they'll go, yeah, okay, all right, all right. But they will always be playing, devil's advocate to the way things went in any situation that makes you excited to think about it in the way that they're thinking about it, because they enjoy thinking about it in that way. And they, ultimately, everybody has some, even if your Jupiter's in Capricorn, you could be a very materialistic person. And you could think about things in a sort of hard-driven way. And your partner will ultimately encourage your Jupiter, even if it's ill-placed, if it doesn't have a lot of faith. You will find that the North Node person is going to encourage you to think openly in the way that you do. And by them encouraging it, the Jupiter person expands in a Jupiter way on their philosophy, and they kind of talk about it, and they move towards things related to it, and they're given faith in whatever their faith is, even that's like an atheistic lack of faith. You're given faith in that lack of faith if you have an ill Jupiter, and by doing so, you're encouraged to see it through. And when you do that, if your atheistic intent is hiding or causing you to not be open to the universe because of some blocked fear that happened in your past, because your father said not to think about these silly things outside of rational logic and reason and science, you'll follow that, and the nature of the North Node person will just be open to it. And by allowing you to be open to it, you'll follow it through, and you'll feel if you're putting yourself in a box, because they don't have Jupiter where you have it, and they don't have all the ill planets associated with Jupiter that you might have, if that is the case for you. They just have the open space of enjoying talking about whatever is being talked about, because they've been stuck in the South Node. Everybody is stuck in their South Node. The South Node is what we have to be, what we've been for many past lives in order to exist as we are. So now the partner who has the North Node on your Jupiter, they've been so stuck in their south node that any planet, even an ill-placed one, is going to provide them with an anchor that they can lasso to. And they're going to lasso out of their south node into the world that they're trying to get into. And your Jupiter is a great blessing to them. No matter how good or badly placed your Jupiter is, they're going to just be excited, and they'll energize your Jupiter and encourage you and make you feel good about the path and mission that you have in life. You'll feel so good about it that you'll follow it even deeper. And if it's not a good one, this is where the antagonism comes in, is that they will communicate with you and they'll say, like, how do you feel? Are you satisfied with the way that you've been doing that? And if you're gruff about it, you'll say, yes. It's like, why are you so angry about it? Like, it's okay. I'm with you. I'm just wondering, are you disappointed that this didn't give you the satisfaction that you thought? Or did it? They'll just the North Node person's going to inherently feel whatever your Jupiter's putting out. And Jupiter is self-satisfaction. It is the guru. And we all have an intrinsic connection to the guru inside of ourselves. The self in one is the self in all. And the human self has ways in which we all experience joy. Jupiter is a huge joy planet in Vedic astrology. We all want to experience joy. And if the life that we've been living is not giving joy, the North Node person is going to just energize the reality. And if your Jupiter's not well placed, their energization is going to make you see where you're not satisfied in your life path and what you're living for, and is going to make you move towards something that is more authentic to what you want to be living for. And if your Jupiter's good, then they're just going to enjoy your Jupiter, and so are you. So is the Jupiter person. Even more. And they'll bring out the best qualities of that Jupiter if it's already good. Now, what is Jupiter in the context of North Node synastry? What the author tells us is Jupiter in the chart reveals, by house and sign, the areas of love where good fortune smiles on us. Through faith, ideally. The only way that anybody ever gets anything good, it's like the people who are in a band who are rock stars who are up there. How'd they get up there? It's because the Jupiter in them just believes that that's the spot that they are at. It's in their heart. The guru inside them is telling them that you need to get up on stage and do this thing because you deserve it. That's faith. And especially if there's a reason for them bigger than just their ego, there's a sacrifice that they are giving to the anvil, to the gods of music, that feels satisfying to them, and they're just going to be called to do it. Anybody who has anything good in life, there's just an inborn faith that that's my dream and I'm going to do it. So this is why Jupiter's placement is where good fortune smiles upon us, even if it's ill-placed. Jupiter's placement is where we are intuitively connected to the beneficent forces of the universe and consequently experience guidance of the inner guru that brings us spiritual and material happiness. So, we have so far been talking about the possibility of you being the Jupiter person or you being the North Node person. This now, we're going to talk about... my dimensions are weird right now. Now we're going to talk about you as the Jupiter person. Your Jupiter is where it is, and you've found a partner, whether that's a teacher, your father, your mother, sister, brother, friend, business associate. Anybody who has their North Node on your Jupiter is going to bring out these qualities. Your North Node partner will encourage your desire for personal growth and self-development. And self-satisfaction, really. Their influence in your life helps you to see that life is an adventure and you want to be a part of it. They have come into your life because on a subconscious level, your soul is calling for you to perceive life within a larger framework, beyond this incarnation even. This person is destined to impact your spiritual growth and increase your faith in positive outcomes. It may be that in trying to understand your relationship with them, you read a self-help book. You draw closer to your church or some kind of spiritual group or something meaningful to you, or you begin a practice of prayer or meditation, or simply getting healthy, getting on a positive, holistic lifestyle path. Through their influence, you become ready to take the next step in your evolutionary journey by connecting with positive spiritual forces and symbols and totems that bring you greater peace of mind, whatever that might be, for whatever level of rational understanding you have in regards to faith-based matters. This partner also provides positive guidance in terms of prosperity and abundance. I'm glad this Western author is mentioning this, because prosperity and abundance are, more than anything, the vicinity of Jupiter in Vedic astrology. So the North Node person brings you good luck in the areas where Jupiter's house placement in your birth chart naturally inclines you to receive such gifts. For example, if your Jupiter is in your second house, the house of money and resources, you were born with good money karma. It's inherent and instinctive in you. This person's North Node conjoining your Jupiter increases this karmic asset, so that when this person enters your life, your natural money magnetism that's been waiting is activated to attract financial and erotic psychological blessings. Second house also relates to Taurus, the erotic psyche, and this is what gives abundance in a lot of ways. By actively receiving their gift and increasing your faith in positive spiritual forces, you simultaneously nurture your spiritual connection with them. And as the gift is activated, it becomes reciprocal. This is a winning situation for both of you. Ultimately, Jupiter is the great benefic, and they have been stuck in their South Node, the past lives, and you have Jupiter, the planet of inherent childlike joy, where their North Node is, which means that you are going to instinctively do things that you deeply enjoy and are called to do through your Jupiter, and they are going to see it and smell it and be overjoyed at your joy regarding where their North Node is, because they, of course, are trying to integrate their North Node because they've been stuck in the opposite axis. They've been doing the South Node thing in order to stay alive for so long. Now you bring this benefic, great, bristling Jupiter energy to their necessary experience in that house and sign. So it's mutually beneficial, ultimately. This is how the North Node tends to work. So that was you as the Jupiter person having your Jupiter conjunct somebody else's North Node. Now, for everybody watching, we are going to be talking about what if your North Node is conjunct somebody else's Jupiter. You can watch the earlier parts of this video to get a sense of what this is all about. I'm probably going to have a time code so you can just skip right to here. Essentially, you've been stuck in your South Node for a long time. So anybody that's got any planet in your North Node area is something that you can lasso to and attach yourself to, which means that you're probably going to be very accepting whatever that Jupiter energy is in the person that you're talking to, and you'll probably be energized about the fact that they have faith there. But not everybody can fully see the goodness of their own Jupiter. So you are going to not only embrace the positive aspects of the joy they get from their sense of faith and belief in some higher, whatever reality, whatever their understanding and bottom line theosophical idea of reality and human life is all about. You're going to enjoy something out of that. And your enjoyment of the goodness there is also going to open psychic space for how the enjoyment of the Jupiter person is actually causing them to be limited in their enjoyment. They can only enjoy life, and they can only live for this thing or this thing or this thing. You'll see the nature of their enjoyment and their philosophy, and you'll see how they enjoy understanding life from this perspective in this way, and you'll see how you can make them realize that enjoying life in this way can also be understood through this way, through this place that you haven't thought about. Have you ever thought about the fact that this, if they're a Christian person, and they've got a love and an empathy for everybody. Have you ever thought about the fact that, this also resonates with like animal ecology, or with, like you can apply your love for Christ in every moment with these people and these people and these people, and you'll provide an open psychic space for them to bring it out. Same thing if they're an atheistic person. You'll be able to show them how there is rational logic and reason even in the mysteries of the unexplained and the mostly explained through science. You will provide the psychic space for them to see how their particular way of understanding life can be expanded to include more than they have understood, and that will give them greater joy in their lives. That's partly, in a huge way, what you're here to do. And by doing so, by their Jupiter working through what you're moving towards, essentially you're energizing their Jupiter because you want to move towards your north node. Their Jupiter is there challenging you to open up your own mind about it, and you'll inherently talk about philosophy in open ways with them, which ultimately opens up your own Jupiter, because your north node is interacting with their Jupiter, so your Jupiter has to meet their Jupiter. And not only does it give your Jupiter some inherent strength, but most importantly, it's going to open up all the potentials associated with your Rahu sign and house placement. Jupiter's the great benefic, so this is a mutually beneficial thing for you and this person. So, you as the north node person, your north node is conjunct somebody else's Jupiter. You bring the Jupiter person the gift of helping them grow and establish a positive view of life. You may introduce ideas that expand their appreciation of culture, or you may enlighten their higher consciousness so that they find answers that were previously unavailable to them. In this way, you help them achieve peace of mind. You ought to encourage this Jupiter person to expand their horizons. Let them know that you are interested in the areas where they most want to develop. If they express a desire to further their education or experience other cultures, show enthusiasm for these aims. Your support will expand their trust and faith in life. You are like a good luck charm for them, opening them up to the flow of universal forces that bestow blessings and good fortune when we are ready to receive such gifts. I always say Jupiter is kind of like imagine an enclosed room, and there's like a little ventilation for one little pocket for air. And people can psychically sense where that open crack to the greater dawn outside the box is. And you energize that opening. And it also teaches you about that opening in your own life. Your purpose in the Jupiter person's life is to be a conduit to a higher level of awareness than they would be able to reach without your influence. As you encourage them to take risks and grow through new experiences, it brings out the best in you, and this increases the flow of love between you. Which can be a beautiful thing for any relationship, and this is pretty conducive to some good interactions in marriage. As I said, you can't pin a marriage to this, but it is conducive to whatever is going on in any marriage situation. So I hope you guys enjoyed that. I better stop now. I'm trying to keep these videos short, and I'm doing the best I can. I'm Dustin Cormier for How to Rock Astrology. Thanks so much for hanging out with me, folks. I'll see you guys on the flip side. Let me know in the comments if you guys dug this. I'll see you on the next episode.